Don't want to waste video. Well, good evening, everyone. It's 6:02. We can start the meeting. We have Councilman Burnett, Councilmember Nicole Ayers, and Councilmember Nora Chelsea Eichner, and her staff, Michelle. Yeah, I don't want to butcher your name, Michelle, your last name. I'm sorry, but we're here. It's the first meeting of the new council. Um, First, I'm gonna start off thanking previous chair with Ms. Ayers, and all the hard work that this committee has already done. Um, I think we can get started. I spoke about like last night at our council meeting. Affordable housing is a big issue in Norwalk and something that a lot of the council members are thinking about and a lot of people in Norwalk are thinking about. So just to get us started, that was important to have an update on kind of what's going on with the affordable housing plan and other things. So pass it along to Michelle to give an update and to have like a brief discussion on some next steps.
Sure, and just before I do that, I copied and pasted your previous agenda, so I did add on there, and I'm sorry you didn't want to include it, but there is public participation
Oh,
listed.
yep. Sorry. Yep.
So if you want to, I did see a hand already raised over on the other.
Okay. Sorry about that. So we'll open it up to public participation, and then we have see if anybody wants to speak. We just ask that you list your name, and address, and then a brief pause, and then I think Michelle will let you know when it's okay to go ahead. So we have Miss Diane Loricella. Can we let her in? And unmute yourself.
Miss Loricella, are you there? You just have to unmute yourself.
Hello. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, as you said, the previous chairs of this committee. This is such an important committee. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I was just going to listen. But then most recently, I took the survey that's being offered by the redevelopment agency. I'm getting away from a noise source. Hold on a second. In the kitchen while I'm speaking, of course. Anyway, I wanted just to tell you that when I love these types of surveys. It was posted as an affordable housing survey, but I wanted to make you all aware that you should seek out this survey from the redevelopment agency, because the only model that is offered for the survey taker to comment on are what I'm calling big box apartment buildings like you see springing up in the TOD area. And this survey described itself as going beyond TOD. And also, that is not the only model for housing in Norwalk. Most of the current larger apartment buildings they have maybe the requisite 10%, but they're not affordable for people like me. I'm a senior. I'm still working, but I know a lot of people that tell me they can't afford the apartment building. So I think a lot of taxpayer dollars went into the work with the consultants on this survey that I just took. Ask the redevelopment agency or caution them that they need to go back to the drawing board with their consultants and make sure that surveys that ask about affordable housing offer other types of housing, such as small single-family homes that are renovated, or accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, or townhouses. All they offered for the public to comment on were large apartment building style. And so I really think that whoever put this survey together should have to give back the money to the taxpayers, to the city, because they did not meet what I hope is your criteria as you're putting together your affordable housing plan. Thank you very much, and I appreciate all you all do. It's just that sometimes if a consultant is not given the right parameters, they can never achieve what I know you care about. So the redevelopment agency staff and its commissioners may have given the consultant the wrong impression, and we don't have any time to spare. It is very difficult for people to afford to stay in Norwalk, and we can do a lot better than this survey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Loricella. I think, is there anyone else? I think I see Ms. Nicole Eady.
Yes.
Unmute. Hi, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I'm in the car. I'm sorry. I wasn't gonna speak, but I just want to echo everything that Ms. Diane just said.
Sorry,
I agree
cut you
with
off.
her.
Ms. See, just for, could you
I'm sorry.
state your
Yes, I'm sorry. Nicole Eady, 8 Norton Place.
Thank you.
And sorry, let me, I just wanted to echo everything that Ms. Diane just said. I agree wholeheartedly that the survey, this was not the original survey that I think was supposed to go out, but it was kind of combined with the redevelopment agency. And it was kind of hard to push out the survey. I got a lot of feedback on it, and I will express that, but it wasn't what the intention was set out to do. And it was one-sided. So I just wanted to go on record saying that. Okay, thank
you,
you.
Ms. Eady.
Mhm.
All right. Is that all for public participation? Oh, I think we have one more. Ms. Cece, Diane Cece.
She just has
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Diane Cece, Olmsted Place. Please ignore that you see E&A logo up there. I'm speaking as a resident, not the association. Thank you. I too wasn't actually planning on speaking tonight, but I do want to echo the other points. First, in keeping with our old motto that you can never have too many Dianes in Norwalk. I will also echo what Ms. Loricella said, and then also followed by Ms. Eady as well. Two other points I want to make. I'm struggling to find the minutes of the ad hoc committee on the city website. When I click on the minutes, it takes me back to June of 2023. And then there's another link that actually takes me either agendas or minutes that's taking me to public, I think they call it public safety and general management committee or something. So I'm not sure if Michelle or staff or someone can help out there. I'm sure there's more minutes than those. I also want to say that I'm still struggling. I hope this committee will address it, but I'm struggling with definitions. And I think if I'm reading the media correctly, other people are as well. I'm really struggling with the definition of how you folks and everyone else is looking at affordable housing. How are we defining that? Because if what we're talking about is workforce housing, then I'll echo again what we've been saying, Ms. Loricella and Ms. Eady just said as well, that the units that are going in Norwalk are by standards, my standards and most people I know, none of us would consider those affordable housing. And I also was wondering if in your discussions, you have defined what people refer to as unmet housing needs. And in my mind, I'm conjuring up like is that someone like in the shelters or living in their car or homeless? When you say unmet needs, what is the broader definition of that? And then I want to speak about the survey. So I think maybe Nicole just mentioned this, but in my mind, I thought that there was going to be an affordable housing survey and for looking what the potential housing needs of residents were. But then this redevelopment agency survey didn't seem really to address that. I think it was poorly written, number one. I'm sure you guys have seen this thing. The questions were not well written. There were some questions that were open-ended instead of giving people options for prompting them for how they could think about what their choices were. And then to the one example that was given there for people to consider, not only is it a big box apartment complex, I believe it's literally the Spinnaker complex that is depicted in that survey. And I don't want to be rude when I say this, but honestly, I didn't hit submit at the end of this thing because I felt that in the end, it was the redevelopment agency who uses survey as a market demographics and basically free focus group for Spinnaker to get feedback on the demographics of the people who were taking the survey, right down to current household, ages, genders, income, education, and then the question of, is this a type of housing that you'd be looking to live in? Mr. Fowler and Spinnaker would have had to, and I know you folks know this, they would have had to have paid thousands of dollars to get the kind of information then that the redevelopment agency is providing through this, lack of a better term, kind of phony affordable housing survey. So I'm sorry if I sound a little bit harsh with it, but I think that's really stemming from my disappointment having then finally seen the survey that I thought would have to do with affordable housing. Thank you so much. Good to see everyone. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cece. Think that's it. If there's no other public comments, we're good. Move on to the update on the status of the affordable housing plan. I think that a lot of the confusion really is too, is that there's a lot of stuff going on. You have the consultants with the city, then you have the redevelopment agent. But I think Michelle giving an update on everything that's kind of going on.
Sure. And I can touch on a couple of things that several community members had mentioned as well, since that survey was a conjoined effort between the city and redevelopment to tackle kind of two different projects going on. So the redevelopment agency is working on a project of their own and have consultants on. I can't speak too much of it because I'm not involved in it, so I don't know really the ins and outs of what they're planning for. But in regards to the affordable housing plan for Norwalk that's required by the state that we're working on, we have a consultant and a committee formed for that affordable housing plan. And so the status currently, we're wrapping up that needs assessment, which have been all sorts of modes to gather information from. We've had online webinars to the survey that was in conjunction with redevelopment. There was in-person meetings, pop-up events at several locations throughout the city. We've been working closely with Open Doors and Michelle Condorito and her group. So that's kind of really the heart of what's been going on. And then we also have interviews with people that are heavily involved in the market of housing and brokers, and kind of figuring out the numbers and kind of what the community's saying. And this is going to boil down to a report of a needs assessment that then we're going to take this needs assessment and it's going to turn into a policy, and what can we, fill the gaps. And then I know a couple of community members brought up tonight, like, what's the definition of affordable housing and things like that. And I think in affordable housing means a lot different to certain people. And I know the state kind of grapples with that and their definitions and how they apply it. And it really, I think, depends on who's looking for it. And so, I mean, it's really a housing plan for Norwalk. It's what markets are people looking for, people primarily interested in more duplexes and things like that. So that's where this housing plan is really going to try and close the gap of what Norwalk truly needs and what the community wants. So the next up is going to be that policy part. We anticipate the closing of that survey today, and then we'll get the results from that survey. And then the needs assessment will go to we'll get that on the 4th or 5th of March. And that will go into the policy portion, like I said. So I could take any questions, or anything that I missed. I know Greg and Nicole are on the committee for the affordable housing plan. So they've been kind of woven in along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we probably have some comments, but I think like one thing that's mentioned even in public comment is that it's clear that there's an issue with housing. And I think that with this survey is really kind of appears and like the public said, it's like kind of one-sided. When you think like fair housing or affordable housing, it's like multi dynamic. And I think that we have to really think about that. So I'd like to see how we could kind of bridge that gap. But I see you have Miss Nicole Ears or Councilwoman Ears has a question.
Thank you, Chair. No, I just have a comment, and I'm sure Nora is gonna jump on what I'm about to say too. The work of this committee prior to today was the work of the trust. And so I think historically it's important for the community to understand this ad hoc committee was formed under the leadership of our former council president, Mr. Barnett, because we understood there was a need and we had some pressing issue that came to the city that we had to deal with, and that was the trust. So when I was the chair, our only business was to write that language of the ordinance for the trust, but we knew that we were going to have to deal with the rest of the things that came around affordable housing. So this committee has not yet had the opportunity to do that work. And Chair, that falls, not unfortunately, but fortunately, I know you're going to do a wonderful job. That falls in your lap. That is the next chapter. So our first chapter was to get that ordinance, and we got it. We did that language. We got it passed. That was the first chapter. We are now in chapter 2. And so what the community should see is more robust conversation around the things that were identified in public participation. In addition, if it is the will of this committee, some action items around that, some tangible things that the council will stand before and us leveraging up to the mayor. So I do understand and I do hear the discouragement and the displeasure of our constituents in public participation, but I would like to urge them that that work, our part of the work, has not started. It will start now in this council season. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work that you've done. Pass. And then we have Councilwoman Najilski Eichner.
Thank you, Councilmember Seed. Just a couple of things to follow up on Councilmember Ayers. One is that we committed at the end of the work on the account ordinance, the housing account ordinance, that we would make comment to planning and zoning regarding the workforce housing regulations and the deed restrictions. So I just want to make sure that I articulate that that is a follow-up piece of work that we committed to, and I don't want to lose sight of that. And in essence, just to very quickly summarize, there was a lot of concern raised in this committee about the deed restriction pieces of, so the affordable housing account requires that the deed restrictions that are part of the affordable housing regulations under planning and under zoning continue with any project that receives funding from that account. And members of this committee were very concerned that those deed restrictions as they pertain to home ownership end up actually being very detrimental to those homeowners because they don't allow for the accumulation of equity. That was actually not a problem we could solve by ordinance because it is actually as a requirement of the regulations, which is under planning and zoning, in which we cannot change. And so our way to change that is through making a comment to planning and zoning. So I just want to flag that and happy to continue that conversation, but I don't want to lose sight of that given that that was a promise we made. Second, to one of the speaker's points, we did spend a lot of time thinking about what the right standard for affordable housing was. We can certainly revisit that if necessary, but I would urge folks to take a look at that ordinance where we selected, I believe, 60% of the statewide median as our metric, in part because it aligned with a lot of the available grant opportunities, but also because we wanted to really focus on our working population that truly was most struggling to meet their housing needs. But again, there is value in consistency, and so we may want to sort of see if that's a definition we want to carry through going forward. Third, I appreciate the commenters' remarks on the survey. I submitted quite a lot of comments to Brian Bedoli before the survey went out. I share quite a lot of those concerns. I am very worried that the survey is not going to provide us with the information that we need. Among other things, the inability to distinguish in the survey between condos and other forms of missing middle housing, such as townhouses, duplexes, I think really limits the ability of that survey to provide us with the information that we're looking for, which is sort of what are the desires for folks who are looking for workforce, missing middle, and affordable housing. So I really hope that there will be other ways that that information can get into this plan, and if need be, I think we need to revisit that if necessary to get the real information there, because I do think that that kind of those multiple options for missing middle housing is going to be a crucial piece of figuring out how we can build affordable housing in spaces where we don't have large lots, or where we want to, again, have housing in different neighborhoods scattered throughout the city and not just clustered in a certain sort of urban core. So anyway, I'm excited about the work of this committee. I'm eager to jump in. I really appreciate your leadership, Chair Seed, on this, and I'm looking forward to working with you on it.
And I thank you all for those comments. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done. And I think that we have to. I think one of the big things is bringing everybody together. We have redevelopment, we have the consultants, we have housing authority, we have so many different departments, and everybody kind of talking about fair housing or affordable housing. And I think that we just all need to bring everybody together so that everybody's not operating in silos, because affordable housing is not one quick answer. It's not just people think about workforce. You talk about these definitions, but every step of the definition is an affordable, like kind of quilt. If you think about it, you have the people with the shelters and everything. That's one form of affordable housing. You have the housing authority with those subsidies, Section 8. And then you have the people in the middle. You have the workforce and other things. So I think we have to tackle it from a lot of different angles, and it's something that is not going to be solvable with a snap of the finger. But it's something that I think that we're taking on, and we are aware of it. And happy that we're working on it, but I think we could do a little bit better and just all work together. So I think that'd be a nice step. And same thing, Michelle, you have some comments?
Yeah, if you didn't mind, I just wanted to say one more thing about the survey, just so I captured that, because we kind of went through many iterations of that survey. And I know when redevelopment knew that there's a survey portion of our affordable housing plan, they, the big concern of fatiguing, different departments and entities asking similar questions, and kind of outreach fatigue with the public. So that really kind of pushed us to collaborate a lot. So I think that survey, the first half is really just maybe the 8 questions was on housing, and then the majority was development, which was the primary goal for them. So that's why it could be kind of alarming that, it was having this one example of housing for the development that they were proposing in that survey as an example. But we kind of understood it for the affordable housing plan. And in the press release for the survey, we indicated that we understand that there's several different kinds of modes of housing for folks that people want and desire, not just that one development that was indicated or suggested in the survey. So I just wanted to say that and cover that, because I wanted to say that in my initial presentation, but forgot.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I see Councilmember Burnett.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to follow up on the comment that Councilmember Ayers made, that the main focus of the ad hoc committee since its initial launch was to focus on the ordinance, and that mission was completed. So I think at this point, this juncture, I think it's important, and this is the first meeting of the ad hoc committee since the new council from November of 2023, I think it's important that we, members of the committee and input from the council, defined what are our actionable items going forward to work on, because as you just stated, the idea of affordable housing is so large and there's so many people that are touching it. I think it's important for the ad hoc committee to define what specific piece of that are we going to focus on. And I don't have the answer right now, but I think it's one that we need to work on defining, what are we going to put our energy towards? Because so many different entities are touching affordable housing. How do we fit in, or how do we lead as it relates to some specific piece of affordable housing? So just wanted to share that I think it's important that we define our next, as Councilmember Ayers stated, our next phase. What is our going forward mission or charge? And what are the actionable items that we want to focus on?
Definitely. And I think one part, I mean, right now, and of course it's not going to be the action, but I think one part with this study with the consultants, they are doing breakout sessions with members of the community and asking people to help lead these conversations. I know Councilwoman Ayers and myself are going to be doing one at Bethel AME. And I know Councilman Burnett is working I think he's reaching out to like members of like the NAACP and other groups to help get those going. And I know Councilwoman, everybody on this committee and the council member, Jiski Eichner, she was interested in leading one of those conversations. So I think that's one thing that we could do actionable right now. And I think that'll help get the input from these community members that we need. But then I think that's great. We do need to kind of discuss it, but I think maybe if we get everybody kind of in the same room and bring all of these different factors and other these departments that are touching this and see what they need and see their thoughts. And I think that will help us kind of plan our next steps and the next things that we could help and really get going. If there's D restrictions or other things that we could kind of lead and help get this going, because it is something that is important, and it's that the everyday Norwalker is feeling the effects of this and the need of it. So I think that's something that we could do going forward. I don't want to cut anybody off. But to see if there's any other questions. I know, Nora, you had your hand up. I don't know if you had anything else. If not, I think the next thing is just the next steps. But I think we talked about that. I don't want to keep everybody too long. Seeing the Councilwoman Ayers.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to bring, I thought Nora as well as Council member Greg Barnett brought some critical issues to the forefront. But one thing I think that we need to discuss, and I think it would land appropriately here in this committee, is particularly with our discussion last night about the reevaluation of commercial as well as residential property. We have this commercial property that may not be utilized to its fullest potential. How can we, in the oversight ability that we have and a legislative ability that we have, kind of make some of those commercial options into affordable housing units, which is a different take. And it's something to what was spoken into on the public participation. I'm a fan of tiny homes. I think they're great. I love tiny homes. I do know that they're not a fit for everybody, but I do know that they are a fit for some people. And there has been a lot of research done throughout the nation about the success of tiny home communities. There's been a lot of success about refurbishing old abandoned buildings and warehouses into affordable units. And I think that as you are writing down our next steps of trying to guide us, Chair, I would encourage you to begin that conversation and see what we can do in our ability to see what, instead of erecting new structures, how can we be innovative in what we already have?
It's a good point. That was brought up last night. I think there's something that we could think about, and yeah, I think we got some work ahead of us, and we have to roll up our sleeves and do the work. But I think it's exciting. It's our first meeting of the new council, but I think we definitely have some work to do, and we need to continue this conversation. So then we have the next steps ahead of us, and some things to work towards. I think immediately we will work. Everybody try to plan some of those outreach so that we could definitely get some more input. And it definitely some of the people in attendance we could get some of those breakout sessions to really get the feedback that we need. But we do want to get to work and excited for that. So yeah, let's go. Sorry, I'm kind of new to this. This is the first of me leading the meeting. But yeah, I don't want to keep everybody long. We do have some work to do. And I'll be in touch and reach out with everyone to kind of brainstorm on some next steps and how we could keep this topic going. And Michelle will definitely be in touch. So if there's nobody else, no other comments, I'll take a motion to adjourn. So move. Thank you. So everybody have a good night, and thank you for joining us, and definitely first of some really important work.
Thanks.
Thank you guys. Good night.
Have a good night.